Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Oslo Rep Young Artist Audition Chat. My name is Sarah Bruno, and I'm the Muriel O'Neill Education and Engagement Director here at Oslo Rep. I am so excited for you all to meet these awesome artists that you're going to get to hear from tonight. So the first portion of this live stream will be an informal chat about young artist auditions, and it's going to be between Celine Rosenthal and the amazingly talented Tyler Gevas. So as you listen to this conversation, be thinking about what questions you have for the two of them, specifically about auditioning. You can write these questions in the comments in your Facebook Live or in your YouTube Live throughout the entire stream. We've also gathered a few questions prior to this on our social media, so we'll be choosing from those as well, and you'll be able to actually hear your answers at the end of this conversation. So please be aware. All of the advice that you're going to hear, the tips and tricks that we're discussing right now, they're intended for young local actors, specifically for those who are putting together self-tapes for our next season of shows. So adults and professionals with audition queries, you're just gonna have to wait your turn, but thanks for being here. Now, I'm going to introduce Celine Rosenthal. Celine is the Associate Artistic Director here at Oslo Rep, and she's also our local casting director. She spends most of her spring casting for our next season. Celine, hey, are you here?
Hey, Sarah, how's it going?
It's going pretty well, you know, wearing my yellow.
Awesome.
Feeling good.
How are we together today? We're really excited.
Yeah, me too. So should I bring on Tyler? Do you think he's ready?
Let's do it.
All right, I'm ready for Tyler to come on. So now we're going to meet Tyler Gevas, and Tyler was most recently seen on our stage at Oslo Rep as Kurt in The Sound of Music. God bless Kurt. Tyler, are you there?
Hi, guys.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good. You just had a birthday, didn't you?
I did, yes, Tuesday, Cinco de Mayo, May 5th.
How old are you?
I just turned 15.
The big 1-5. Nice.
Yeah. Well, I know that the two of you have a lot of things to talk about auditions, so I'm going to go ahead and get out of here, but I'll see you at the end, okay?
Cool. See you in a sec, Sarah.
Bye.
Awesome. Well, Tyler, we've known each other for a couple of years, right?
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time we met?
I think it was the auditions for the 2017 to 2018 season. Yeah.
That's right. I remember your audition very clearly. You came in and knocked my socks off, singing one of my favorite songs of all time, Go the Distance, and you made me cry. So hats off to you, my good sir. So you've got some questions for me about what I'm looking for when I'm sitting behind that table and watching people audition, huh?
Yes, I do.
Fire away.
Okay, let's start with the basics. What makes a really good audition?
Great question. You know, and I think one of the things for young artists to keep in mind is that the answer is surprisingly simple. There's sort of three main things that I'm looking for. One is that you're prepared and on time. The other is that you execute your material well. And then the other is that you're able to interact with us in the room in a polite and pleasant way. And really, if you can master sort of those three things, just coming in, being yourself, owning your space, being a chill person to be around, you're knocking it out of the park 9 times out of 10 with us.
All right. I've heard a lot of different opinions on this, but what should you wear to an audition? Should it be formal or should it be more character-wise?
Oh, excellent question. Excellent question. You know, I think there's a lot of different opinions about what you should wear to an audition. And I know that some people think very strictly about it, that, you know, girls should be wearing character shoes and dresses, and boys should be wearing suits and ties and things. And, you know, I think differently. I always prefer to see you in an outfit that makes you feel confident and in your body, something that makes you feel like the best version of you. And in terms of character, I think it's a fine line to walk. You know, I think that wearing something that's a little nod towards the character that you want to be seen for is always sort of a nice touch. You know, if you're going to be playing a construction worker, I probably don't want to see you coming in with like a full hard hat and harness. That's maybe a little too far, but wearing something like a pair of shoes that has a good heel that really grounds you in your body and helps you feel that character, that can be really useful.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is a slate, and what should you include in it?
Yeah. So a slate, and actually you have an excellent slate, my friend, in your audition. I was very impressed. A slate is basically just you introducing yourself to the auditioner. And so that can happen in the room or on tape. And what it should include basically is your name and what you're going to be presenting that day. So usually the title of the song, if it's a song, and the writer in the show, or the play that the monologue is from, is a useful thing to keep in mind. If you are a young person who is auditioning, it's often helpful to say, for us anyway, to say how old you are, or what school you go to. That's always useful for us to hear too. But it's, back in the day, when I was auditioning as an actor, I definitely appreciated the slate as a way to sort of take ownership of the room. That's sort of the way that you can really control the start of your audition. Announcing to us, I'm ready, this is who I am, and this is the beginning of what I'm going to perform for you. So I think it's a really useful thing to sort of get under your belt and to make part of your DNA as an auditioner.
Yeah. Okay. How do you feel about musicals and songs that are overdone? Like, I love these shows and songs, but are you tired of hearing Disney or like Beetlejuice, Waitress, Wicked,
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I, by the end of the audition season, usually get really tired of hearing "Ice Cream" from "She Loves Me," and it's not because I don't love the song. It's just that it's got a high note at the end that not everybody can really hit often. So I'll say, I'd say that make sure that you're choosing material that really sits in your range, that really shows you off well. But personally, I don't get sick of things very often. I'm a real Disney fan. If somebody comes in and they do a Disney song, I'm almost always going to have a smile on my face. And quite honestly, between like Mean Girls and Beetlejuice, I actually haven't heard that many people using songs from that yet. So I don't know if it's sort of trickled into the consciousness of the community. So if you've got a great song from there, I say use it. Do you have anything you're sick of, Tyler? I mean, you must be hearing other people audition and whatnot. Is there anything you like never hear again?
Well, I mean, my sister sings a lot around the house, so I can get sick of some of those songs sometimes. But
really, only the ones your sister's singing all the time. That's fair. I think that when Wicked first came out, I tortured my younger brother by singing Popular basically from morning until night. So I feel you.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about monologues. Where can I get like a good monologue? I have a lot of teen books and short pieces that are like nicely lengthed, but they're not really written that well. But there are monologues from plays, but again, they aren't very appropriate for auditions. So what do you recommend for that?
Yeah, finding a good monologue is a real challenge for an actor of any age. Quite honestly, it's always going to be a thing that you have to sort of struggle through. And it's always that part of the audition process that we only use them for equity principal auditions. Normally, when you get further in the audition process, you'll use a portion of the play or a side. But it's always that odd thing of trying to find a piece of text that's just going to fit you perfectly and be able to be pulled out of context of a play. So I feel you. It's not the most fun thing in the world to look for. I've got a couple of tricks, quite honestly. It's always served me really well to look for work of known playwrights that's happening in film and television. Quite honestly, a lot of times you're able to find a really nice chunk of text that suits your age range, that suits who you are, and it's not something that we've heard a million times over. I think I've heard that monologue from The Effect of Gamma Rays on Man in the Moon Marigolds about 1.5 million times. But I am always really surprised when people bring in monologues that I haven't necessarily heard before. When I was your age, I had a really great monologue that was from a movie called Playing by Heart. And I ended up being able to use it like well into my 20s because it fit me really, really well. And it was a beautiful piece of text. There's also a number of new plays that have come out that feature characters of your age that might not sort of be in your consciousness yet. There's a playwright named Dave West Reed who has written a play called Dream of the Burning Boy. So now that you're in high school and reaching that age, there's a lot more of the world that's sort of opening up to you. There's also Steve Carum's Speech and Debate that you should take a look at. There's a character in Hansel Jung's Wild Goose Dreams. That's, I think she's supposed to be 16. So that's a really good place to go to for young female identifying folks who are looking for material. Jocelyn Bio has a play called Schoolgirls, or the African Mean Girls play, also really great. And for our younger folks who are watching, who are looking for monologues for folks who are even younger than that, actually Bess Wall came out with a show called Make Believe that has a lot of, I mean, have your parents read through it first because it's a little bit more skewed to adults, but there is some really, really great text in there for folks between the ages of like 8 and 12. So it's out there. I think that playwrights are starting to have a little bit more consciousness that young people in theater don't always have to be like Little Orphan Annie or Oliver. There's more complexity that you're experiencing in your life growing up. So that's kind of exciting. But yeah, those are my tips and tricks are check out film and TV, quite honestly. And you'll have a lot of people who will say absolutely never do that. But if you're ever auditioning for me, I say it's A-okay.
All right. So what are slides? And what's the best way to like prepare for them?
Oh yeah. So sides are pieces, short pieces of a play that will pull out that feature a specific character. And it will usually be a 2-person scene. And what we're looking for is to be able to give the auditioner a chance to show us how they would interpret specifically the character that we would like to consider them for. So, for example, in our musical that's coming up, Billy Elliot, we've got some sides or some portions of text that are for Debbie and some for Billy and another one for Michael. These are the 3 main characters. And so what is the best thing to do to prepare for them is to get really, really, really familiar with the text so that you don't have to be reading it. You've heard the term off book because you've done this like a million times before. And I always say that it is best to memorize your sides, just because it's the only way really that you can sink into a character and show us who you are when you're acting as opposed to who you are when you're reading and auditioning. And I always say that highlighting your sides in different colors so that if you do have to keep it in your hand, if you like get it the night before, highlighting it in different colors is a really easy way to be able to look back down at it and know exactly where you are on the page so that you don't have to search for it. But actually, you know what, Tyler, you're really good at sides. How do you prepare when you get them together?
Well, I get them, and then I guess I kind of like read over it a couple times, and then I work with my scene buddy, which is normally my sister, and basically what I do is I kind of like improvise the lines, but with like a central point to them, so I can get into the character, and then I work on the words, and I memorize, and also I have the character down. So that's kind of what I do for them.
That's awesome. And then, because if you're rehearsing with your sister and she's got a certain interpretation of the character, do you find it to be really different when you come into that audition and you're reading with somebody else?
Yeah. It is different, reading with another person and how they read the other part. But I mean, I guess I just adjust to it and try my best.
Yeah. Well, and I will compliment you because I think one of the reasons that you're able to adjust so well is because you are an A+ student when it comes to preparation. Truly. And we should talk about accents, right? In terms of, so you had a really great question for me earlier when we were just chit-chatting about this, which is when you are given a side and you think that there might be an accent associated with it, what should you do? Right?
Yeah.
I say that you should always feel free to ask. I think, I think sometimes people are afraid to ask their auditioners questions about the material that they're given. You should know that we're always happy to answer. And so if you're ever wondering, should I use an accent? What accent should I use? It's always cool to ask. And we'll be ready for that. In terms of the sides that we're providing for our young folks this year, we're talking about two different plays. We're talking about Billy Elliot, of course, and we're talking about Our Town. And for Our Town, we're looking for standard American. So no need to use an accent, talk like yourself. But for Billy Elliot, we are looking for a very specific British accent, which is called the Geordie accent. And I know, Tyler, you're auditioning for Billy Elliot as well. Have you been working on the Geordie accent?
Yes, I've actually watched a couple of videos on how to do it. It's a little challenging, but I'm ready for the challenge.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned sort of like listening to videos and whatnot. What else do you do to sort of get an accent under your belt? Because I remember when you did a British accent for Shakespeare in Love and you nailed it.
Well, I guess it's just kind of practicing over like with the changes, because the American accent and the British accent and Geordie are different. So just like with the different changes in the vowels and the consonants and stuff like that, just working on that so you can get it down, and then boom. You got the accent.
Yeah. A thing I also used to do too is I used to find a phrase when I would listen to videos and things. I would try to find a phrase that was really easy for me to say in that specific accent that would sort of drop me into it. And I would repeat that phrase over and over again. I was in a play that had an Irish accent at one point, and this is terrible. This is not a good Irish accent, but I remember thinking to myself, like, oh, that's me Lucky Charms. If I could say me Lucky Charms, then I could get into an Irish accent. And it's silly. Sometimes having something like that to be able to do for yourself before you go into an audition can sort of like relax you and set you up for success. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A big accent I did was I was Tim the Enchanter in Spamalot. And that was such a fun accent, this rough Scottish accent.
God, I love Scottish accent. It always sounds a little bit like Shrek to me, no?
Yeah.
Just a little.
For this season, auditions don't look normal as they used to. Last time I auditioned in front of you guys in like a rehearsal room, but this year we had to film a self-tape. Do you mind if we talk a little about self-tapes?
I would absolutely love to. And I'm supposed to put out there, for all of our local young artists, you still have until May 15th to submit an audition. So there's still time. And hopefully the things that we're talking about tonight are going to help you feel confident and more able to sort of navigate that process, because we really want everybody to get a chance to send us a submission. We want to consider as many of you as possible. All right, Tyler, what's your first question?
All righty. So for you, what is a definite like no-no in self-tapes and submitting an audition online?
Oh, all right. Great question. So sort of to break it down for everybody, there's two main parts to your online submission, right? There's your headshot and resume, and there's your video audition itself. So actually, I have a couple of visual aids. Let's start with a resume, shall we? So here's a great example of a resume. And just for everybody who's maybe not familiar, a resume is just a basic description of your past performance experience with your name and your contact information at the top. And we need that information so that when we inevitably love what you're going to do during your audition, we know how to get in contact with you to call you back and ask you to do some more material for us so we can consider you for a role. A couple of things for our young artists to specifically think about is, honestly, don't worry if you don't have a lot of experience or even any experience. Don't let that stop you. You can list school plays, you can list choirs, or you can just say you have no experience at all. You've never been on a stage. All of that is completely fine. Really, all we need is your name and very specifically your parent or guardian's contact information, because we need to have an adult that we can contact to ask permission for you to be part of our show. Yeah. So it's really, really simple. Don't let it freak you out. And then the other thing that you'll need is a headshot. And a headshot's really simply a picture of yourself that can be attached to your resume so that the auditioner has a visual reference for who you are. And now there's a couple of things that can make like a good headshot or a maybe not so great headshot. And so I thought what could be sort of fun is that I might show you an example, and then maybe Tyler could give us his opinion on whether or not he thinks that this is a good headshot or maybe a not so good headshot. Sound good, Tyler?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So here it is.
Well, I would have to say it's not the best headshot.
And why?
Well, it's not really looking at the camera, and normally you want to look at the camera when you're taking a headshot.
Mm-hmm.
And two, it doesn't look too happy. And I feel like you want to have a nice happy face, and so you can tell the casting directors that you're just a nice, genuine person.
Mm-hmm. So. And I would also point out that the attire that this feline has chosen is maybe a little overdone. Would you say?
Yeah.
Maybe not naturally what a cat would be wearing in its everyday life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think maybe this cat could use a different headshot. So here's an example, friends, of a maybe not so great headshot, but I did want to give you an example of what I think is a really good headshot. And so this is Tyler's headshot. I think this is a really great headshot. I think that you can see that from looking at his image on the video next to us and this picture, it looks like him. I think we hear that term thrown around a lot in reference to headshots, like your headshot has to look like you. And this is what we mean. He's not super done up. He's not super airbrushed so that he looks like an automaton and not himself. He's got a beautiful open expression. He looks like a personable guy. And if I have this as my visual reference along with his resume, I'm for sure going to remember the person that walked into the room and did his audition for me. Thank you, Tyler, for letting us use your headshot as an example. I super appreciate it. Oh, and one final thing. Always make sure to submit your headshot and resume in a PDF form, right? Tyler, what does a PDF mean again? Do you remember?
Professional
something
document format.
Yes. There we go. I'm going to defer to you because I'm too much of an elder millennial to really remember what that means. But we bring it up because, if you submit something to us in, say, Pages or Word, there's sort of no guarantee that the person who is your auditioner, who's reviewing your materials, is going to be able to open that document. And that's always so sad when we want to get somebody's contact information. We want to see your headshot and resume. We want to see your past experience, but we can't even open the document. So please, everybody, always make sure to submit in a PDF form. Now let's chat about the video a little bit. I think video submissions can be a little intimidating, right? I mean, Tyler, had you ever put together a video submission before this?
I have, yeah. I've done a lot of self tapes and stuff. It can get tricky at sometimes.
What felt like to you was sort of the main difference in doing a video submission versus auditioning for us live?
Well, I mean, when I audition live, it's more of a feel. I can interact with you guys, and it's just nice. Although it is a little nerve-wracking, it's really nice. But doing it on a camera, self tapes, a good thing about it is that you can redo it. You can see. I really like that, but what can I make it? How can I make it better? Or what can I change to make it how I like it? And I can be my best. I can be the best. So
totally. So even though it's intimidating, it sounds like there really are a lot of benefits, truly, to being able to sort of control your self-tape. And for those of you who are still sort of intimidated by it, I'd say don't stress too much. There's sort of some basic stuff you can keep in mind. There are some do's and don'ts, honestly. First off, I would say, make sure that your audio is okay. Make sure that when you've recorded yourself, we can hear you. I got a couple of submissions this year where they looked so beautiful, but I couldn't hear them at all. And if we can't hear you, then we don't know what you sound like. We don't know what the text that you're doing is. It's just a real shame. The other thing is to sort of check your frame. You want to make sure that we can see your face. Some people have really strong opinions about how much of your body we can see as we're doing a taped audition. For me, I'm real chill about it. I really just want to be able to see your face, quite honestly. And, make sure that you're like in the frame. We don't want to just see portions of your house and not you. We want to see you. And then, the last thing is make sure to check your file type. Every place that you submit a video audition to is going to have instructions on the way that you should send us your video. Tyler, do you remember for Asolo what the way that we asked you to submit your video?
I don't remember at the moment.
That's okay. I was actually hoping you would say me. I think it's a YouTube link.
Okay.
Our instructions. And this is so that we can all view it when we need to click on it, that if we need to, we can send it to the director of the piece so that they can check it out too. You want to make sure it's not password protected, because that's an extra step for us, and that can mean that we can get locked out of it and then we can't view it anymore. We don't want to send it to us by like Dropbox or WeTransfer, because we don't want to have to download it in order to view it, because I'm sure that you all know you only have so much memory on your computer, and we had over 1,000 submissions this year. Can you imagine if I ended up having to download each one of them in order to view them? I wouldn't have been able to. So those are just those things to keep in mind. And then honestly, after you check off those 3 things, all the same rules that would apply to a live audition apply to a self-tape. You want to make sure that you are prepared and that you're practiced. You want to know your lines or your lyrics. You want to choose a piece of material that really suits you as a person in your experience of the world. And you want to make sure that you're avoiding any kind of material that's portraying you as overly violent, or that's using inappropriate language or any hate speak. And honestly, that's sort of it.
All right. Another question: should you sing or act directly into the camera, or should you look to the side or past it? I heard it gives you a better connection looking directly at it, but everybody has their different things on it. So what do you recommend about that?
Oh yeah, well, you're right. When you're looking directly into a camera, you definitely can make more of a personal connection. And I would say too, there's a caveat to what I'm about to say. When you're auditioning, when you're doing a self-tape for a theatrical production, it's very different than when you're doing a self-tape for a film or television piece. Because anybody who's auditioning you for the theater via film is going to be telling themselves when they're watching this video, this is just a representation of what they can do. But I know that when I cast you, you're not going to be doing this performance on film. You're going to be doing it live and in person. So because of that flexibility, you really have, it's dealer's choice. I would say whatever makes you as the actor feel more comfortable and able to give your best performance is the way to go. So if you feel more comfortable speaking to somebody slightly off camera, maybe using one of your scene buddies or something so that you have somebody to work with, then I would say go for that. And if you feel really comfortable singing directly into that camera and using that as your way to connect, then I say go for that. Go for that then.
All right. Thank you.
Of course.
How do you feel about gender bending in audition material?
Oh, I love it. It's some of my favorite stuff. And maybe this is, again, it's a personal taste, but I always love to see, I love seeing material reinvented and re-examined by folks with different bodies than were initially perhaps intended for the piece itself. And I think that for folks who are identify as female, identify as male, are non-binary, I think that there's just such a world where we can open up all of this art to a different interpretation. And I love it. I will, however, say that, say race is not necessarily as transitive. So I would caution actors that, if a piece is specifically written for an actor of color and you are not an actor of color, I would say stay away from that piece. But I think in terms of gender, if in my book, have at it. You'll make my day every time.
All right. Well, that's all the questions from me. So, Sarah, does anybody else have any other questions?
I'm back.
Welcome
I'm back.
Sarah.
Hi. Yeah, I do have a couple of questions. So let me see. This is from all of our friends who have been writing in via Facebook and YouTube Live. So I've seen that sometimes the theater provides scenes. We're talking about the sides for us to audition with. If I use that, who's supposed to read the other character? Anything that I should know about this? What do you think?
Yeah. Actually, I think that Tyler has excellent advice on this. Tyler, what do you think?
Can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, sure. So, sometimes the theater provides sides, as we have for the auditions that are due on May 15th for the video auditions. If you use those sides, who's supposed to read the other character? Is there anything that people should know about doing a side via your video audition?
Well, I don't really think it matters who's reading the side, because I mean they're deciding to cast you, not really your reader. Luckily enough, I have a really good reader, my sister. But yeah,
Roxy.
Yeah, Roxy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really think it matters on who reads your sides as long as they read it.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think, another thing to note, for now, this won't be the case with young actors, I hope, but for other actors, if you're by yourself and you're asked to self-tape a side, then another good trick is that you can pre-record the other lines on your phone, and you can play them back at you. It's a good idea to do for myself, and it's a little awkward, but if you rehearse it, it can actually work out pretty okay. But yeah, Tyler's answer is the best one. Like, it doesn't matter who else reads it for you, as long as we get to hear your side of it.
Well, and if they're doing a video audition, should that person be in the scene with them? Should they be on camera or should they be off camera?
Great question. My personal preference is that they be off camera, because I like to focus on the actor who I'm thinking of casting.
Great. Okay, I've got more questions. Tyler, I'm actually going to throw you a question. Ready? What do you do to get yourself ready right before you go into the audition room? Do you have like a ritual or something specific that works for you that just gets you ready to audition?
Well, I guess before the audition, I just gotta take deep breaths, and focus. You gotta lock into your stuff. Make sure you can go over it. I go over it a couple times. And yeah, just deep breaths. Make sure I focus on the character. Focus like what I want, what the character wants, all that. Read over the script a couple times, or the scenes, or my monologue. Go over it in my head. But yeah, just breathing and focus.
I like that. That's good advice all the time too.
It is, for sure.
Breathing.
I also had a teacher that recommended to me when I was in school, another useful thing, if you get rattled by waiting for your audition when you're in that line with all those people, sometimes bringing your, back then in the day, it was an iPod, but now I think we have other devices that carry our music. Sometimes, keeping some calming music in, something that's instrumental, something that keeps you focused, can be a really useful way to help you focus.
It's a good idea too. I have more questions, and they're coming all the time. This is wonderful.
Right.
So when you're self-taping, is it better to use a piano track, a karaoke track, or to sing without music?
Great question. I think that it's always better. It's always better to have a backing track of some sort. Whether it's a karaoke track or a piano track is honestly, I think, your personal preference and sort of what you need to hear to be able to get yourself into that song and be able to sing it well. However, I will say for our young artists out there, if you have a lot of trouble sorting out the backing track, if it's just a little bit too much, I personally am totally happy to hear you sing a cappella. It's harder, and I recognize that it's harder, but what's more important to me is that you show me what you can do. So if singing a cappella is what you can, then let's do it. That's great.
So then, Celine, what do you find is a standout in somebody's audition?
I am always looking for an actor to be able to drop in and make me believe them. no matter what. So it's interesting. I think there's naturalistic acting versus a very presentational style of acting. I always prefer a more grounded and human approach. So I'm always looking for those glimpses in those moments where I go, oh, that's who that person is. I believe them. Oh, and it's especially thrilling when it happens during a song, when somebody can really communicate a story to me and make me see the world around them and really sort of create that for me. That's always my favorite thing. That's always what I'm looking for.
Great. I have more questions. They're being added all the time. This one is specific to the audition, the self-tape auditions that are due next week. If you are only auditioning for Our Town, should you prepare a song?
You know what? I'd always be happy to hear anybody sing. If you're only auditioning for Our Town and we've already sent you aside, please prepare it and get it ready for me. But, you know, just because I might not have a role for you in a musical this year doesn't mean that I wouldn't be considering you for next year. One of the great things about working in a regional theater and within a community like Sarasota is that I love keeping track of the progress of all of our young actors. So it's a really wonderful thing to be, if I hear like all of which is to say, sing for me, please sing for me. You'll always make my day. I love hearing people sing.
Good. I'm gonna remember that, Celine. I'm gonna remember.
Sarah just goes up in my office, and then when we get back to work.
Okay, so wondering what you think about auditioning for a role where you may not exactly fit the character breakdown.
I'd come in and show me. I'd say come in and show me. Again, with the one caveat that if we are specifically looking for a person of color and you're not a person of color, please be respectful and take that into account. I probably don't want to see you for that role. But really, other than that, show me what you got. I'm the kind of director where I'm always excited to see a vision of a character that might not have been what I initially thought. Come and surprise me. If you know in your gut that you are right for this, show me your best.
I've heard you say that before. You love being surprised in that way. Those happy surprises.
Yeah.
Are there any good apps or programs to piece your audition together into one video?
Ooh, well, that's a really good question. Tyler, do you know of any?
I actually do. I think a good one, it's pretty simple, is iMovie. I mean, I've done a lot of like editing with my self tapes on iMovie, but yeah, it's simple and it's pretty easy.
Yeah, that's awesome. This is how you can tell that I haven't been an auditioner in a really long time, because the last time that I was putting together a self-tape, I was using Final Cut like a million years ago. And you definitely don't need software that intense in order to do this. Now there's stuff you can, like Tyler said, you do it right on your phone. You know what? And thank you for that question, whoever sent it in, because I think that some of my more tech savvy staff can probably help us to put a couple of recommendations for software on our website to help out folks that might need to access some of that. Thank you for the question.
We always like good resources. Tyler, I have a good question for you, and I think I might know who it's from. Who is your favorite Von Trapp sibling? They're asking for a friend.
Personally, I love all of them equally. They're great. I love spending time with them. Kurt-wise, I would have to feel like I think it's going to be Brigida. They do have like fighting moments, but I feel like it's loving fighting. Like I feel like they fight a lot because they're close, and that's why I think that's why I think Kurt's favorite Von Trapp sibling is Brigida.
Cool. So it should be said today there was a video that went out via the Asolo Rep social media that actually was cuts of you all, the Von Trapp kids, and of course Maddie, who played Maria Von Trapp, singing "Lonely Goat Herd" and doing the choreography from home. So if you haven't seen that video, it's joy.
It's delightful.
You're gonna giggle with all of the joy and bubbles in the world. So just you can find that on the Oslo Rep Facebook page. I have a new question. Oh, Celine. Should actors put all 3 of the sides into one video, or should they keep them separate?
Oh, thank you for asking this question. Please, please, please put it in one video. If you can, please, please, please. It makes it so much easier for us to be able to keep things organized. Pretty, please. Thank you.
Cool. I have only one question left. And actually, Tyler, it's for you. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. What was it like working at Oslo Rep and doing a professional show? And do you have any advice for all of our friends out here who are watching and would like to know what it's like?
Well, it's amazing. There's so much talented people that work on a show there, like professional actors that have been on like multiple Broadway shows. And it's incredible to think that I'm working with these people. And I just learned so much from them. And the director, everybody. And along the way through the process, it's so professional that it prepares me for real world with acting on Broadway, regional, national theater, stuff like that. Yeah. Some advice would just be, if you love theater and you want to work here, just, I'd say go for it. Honestly, it was my second year doing theater and I was like, oh, Oslo Rep, that's close to here. I want to audition. And I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad I decided to audition. It's a great place to, just act and stuff. So I really am glad I chose to audition for the Oslo.
And we're glad you auditioned for us too.
Here you are, right here. It's great. I mean, you're all the way over there, but you're here. And it's great. I do have actually 2 more questions popped up, and I love these questions. They're so good. So Celine, are you interested in seeing teens for the Ballet Girls and Billy Elliot in our town?
So I am interested in seeing you for Billy Elliot. I would note that we are looking for younger girls for the Billy Elliot Ballet Girls. But I still want to see you because I want to get to know you and I want to think of you for other projects and I want to think of you for the Ground Floor series when we've got other stuff coming up. So please don't let that, please don't let the fact that we're probably looking for somebody a little younger than you stop you from submitting something to us. And we definitely are looking for teens for our town, for sure. So please make those submissions.
And it's good experience too.
Great experience.
Yeah, it's a really good experience. And my final question. So given where we are in our world right now, what is the process for auditions after the submissions of the sides and songs?
Oh, what a great question. So, so after we get your submissions with the sides and the songs, then we're going to sit with Josh Rhodes, our director, and Sinai Tabak, our music director, and we're going to look at everything. And then what will happen is we'll sort of choose the people for our second callbacks. And in our second callbacks, you'll be sent, folks will be sent more information. They'll be sent more things to record so that we can really start to see what the abilities are. And then after that process, we are going to have an in-person audition. It is going to happen because we need to see how people can dance and how they can move. And for our town, we need to see how you can actually be on stage. But of course, in this climate and in this world, we know what's going to happen. We just don't know exactly when. So we encourage you to stay tuned and stay in touch with us. We're going to try to communicate as often and as clearly as possible. And we will let you know if you're not being moved on to the next round, regretfully, and we will of course keep you in mind if you're not being moved on to the next round for say our town or Billy Elliot. We will be thinking about what can we use you for in future seasons. We're going to be thinking about how can you be involved in the Ground Floor series. Maybe you'd like to take a class with us. We want to keep all of our local young people involved in the theater. It is one of my passions. I know it's one of Sarah's passions, and we want you to be part of the Asolo family. Did I answer the question? Did I forget anything?
No, I think that was great. And actually, this is almost perfect I don't have a watch on. It's really good timing. I really love this conversation that you guys had today. I hope that everyone who is watching did as well. I think it was really informative. And I hope that anybody who was like, I don't know if I can audition, now you feel a little bit more confident, and that we'll definitely see a video audition from you. Just a couple things that we really want people at home to know about. So you can find the audition information if you go to oslorep.org/auditions. If that's not up tonight, it will definitely be up very, very soon. Also, the WooFoo submission form was posted in the comments on Facebook by Asolo Rep, the Asolo Rep Facebook page. Look for a little circle that is red and says Asolo Rep. If you have any questions about submitting your auditions, please go, you can email literary_casting@oslo.org. If you have any more questions about how to audition, some of the things you should think about, you can send those questions to education@oslo.org. So just to let everybody know, we're so excited. We are going to be here very soon, be posting on our Facebook page about some possible online Zoom classes through Asolo Rep, other opportunities like that. And in that same vein, I don't know if you've been watching, but we have something called Asolo Rep Engage. And Asolo Rep Engage has these videos that are done by some of our theater artists. We have something called Nia Explains It All, where our wonderful production stage manager is giving you little tidbits into the theater. We have all kinds of online content that's really exciting. You can learn as much as you want to about the theater. So I just have to say, thank you all so much for joining us. And thank you again, Celine and Tyler. This was really great. Everybody have a great night.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.